Hello and welcome back to another episode of You Want to Do What. Today we've got Amanda Baker on, and she's the founder and creator of Five Stories. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Really good. I can't believe it's only Tuesday.
I know it feels like such a long week already, isn't it?
It really does. It really does. I'm definitely feeling the frazzled brain right now.
Amanda, do you want to jump straight in and tell everyone a bit about what you do?
Yeah, of course. So, hey, I'm Amanda, and yeah, I basically help businesses of all shapes and sizes tell stories that connect with people. And I do that with a methodology that I've spent a very long time um, trying to figure out what it is and create. And that's called Five Stories. So I believe that there's five stories that every single business, every person who has an idea, who wants to build a brand and create something that people actually want in their lives, I believe that five stories gives us the way to do it. It gives us the blueprint. It gives us the map to help us communicate who we are, what we stand for, and what that all means to everybody else that we want to listen.
Mm.
That's a little bit about what I do, and I absolutely love it.
So, where did this all start for you then? What's your sort of career journey?
Oh my God, how long we got? Career journey. This is a really big question because it's such a long one, and when you're just like, what door do I open to go down that road of that part of the career journey? Yeah, I mean, my career journey it's been messy. It's been a little bit like someone called me a butterfly at one point, actually. I was like, oh, I prefer butterfly to messy. Looks prettier. Um, yeah, I finished uni, graduated in 2008, which wasn't the best year to graduate because
Mm.
the financial crash, and oh yeah, that was a mess. And so I did my degree in advertising and graphic design, but specialized in advertising really because that's something I was just so fascinated with the way with this world of communicating to people and getting them to buy stuff. It's stuff that they don't
Mm.
want. I just thought it was so interesting. I was like, oh, how does this work? How do we buy things? How do we connect with things? How do brands become brands? So that's something that I was always really fascinated about. But on the other side of that, I was also very determined to not work for anybody but myself.
Mm.
I've always known, I guess, I don't know where this comes from. I talk to my mum and my nan about it sometimes. I just, man, like, where did this entrepreneurial like part of you come from? I was like, I have no idea. You two made me. So not, but but this is something that I've really yeah, so when it comes to building a brand and storytelling, that's something that I've always been really fascinated with. So my career has always been around that. So after uni, went into a local agency, marketing agency, and worked as a copywriter there. Did that for a bit, got made redundant, and then ended up just really wanting to get away from the UK for a little bit. So went over to Cyprus, worked there for a bit. And I just took my laptop and my Photoshop and my Illustrator and went over there and hustled for work, basically. I went around all of the restaurants in Paphos. I don't know if you've been to Cyprus before, but there's a place called Paphos, which is a really lovely place in lovely place there, which I really connected with and stayed there for a little bit and just made a decent amount of money just walking around to restaurants and saying that I could design their logos better and design their business cards better, and that was great. And then I'd go and spend all the money in the evenings down the down at the bars and getting all the buy one get one free cocktails and the shots. So yeah, made money but spent it all just as fast as I made it. And then came back to the UK and worked. Yeah, working. My career has kind of been between working at agencies, marketing, advertising agencies, but also starting up my own businesses as well. So
Mm.
I'm currently building my fourth business, but I started my first business when I was 23. And that was came up with the idea for that business when I was at a local marketing agency in my hometown, Wokingham, and came up with this idea to create an app that would let women borrow, swap, and lend clothes with each other. And this was years ago, when sustainability, buying sustainably, was not a cool word. It was not seen as a, it was just like, what? No, I want to buy loads of fast fashion and wear stuff all the time and something new all the time. So yeah. And yeah, I've just kind of been in between this world of startup, working, building my own startups, supporting startups with their brands and their stories, and also working in agencies to, I guess, deliver brand and marketing and advertising work for multiple businesses all under sort of one roof. So
okay,
yeah,
so it's very marketing and branding, focused. That's what you're, what really good at. But
yeah.
I'd be interested to get your point of view on this. You said you went to university and studied advertising.
Mm-hmm.
Do you value that degree, or do you think I wish I'd gone into marketing advertising earlier?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I mean, if I'm completely honest with you, do I value that degree? Not really. I think it gave me a good insight into the world of advertising, which, if I'm completely honest, like I don't think it's a very kind one. I think it's quite a ruthless world. But yeah, would I, knowing what I know now, would I go back? No, I would have just started a business, if I'm honest. Yeah, I probably wouldn't do a degree in advertising again. I'd just go to an agency and straight after school, college, and get work if I can, or work for free, and then get another part-time job on the side to give me some money to live, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It depends on your circumstances, really, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course. So let's focus on sort of the storytelling and the branding side. Working on that day to day, what kind of things are involved when doing that? What kind of tasks, what kind of things do you actually have to do when working in branding and storytelling?
So I have to do, the main thing that I have to do is listen. That's like the listening is the main thing that I have to do with my clients, really listening to their stories. I get told so many times, even today, just like, this feels like therapy. I'm just like, yeah, it's like therapy for founders who have all of these founders and business owners who have all of these stories which are just trapped or stuck or like confused. And the time that they have with me is to really, I'm really listening to everything that they're saying, and I'm listening from in a way from the shoes of their customers, so I get an understanding of who their customer is and how their customer is feeling off the back of research that they've done, or we go and do the research ourselves. Really understanding, who they are, where they are emotionally, how they're feeling, why they're feeling that way, and then really listening to the founder or the leadership team of that business to understand, okay, well, why do you exist? Like, why are you here? Why are you doing what you do? Where did it all begin? What do you believe? What do you care about? Okay, well, how does that connect with what your customer cares about and what they believe as well? So a lot of the stuff that I'm doing is listening and then mapping the stories. So, and finding that connection point between the business and the business that I'm working with and their customer. Like, where do they connect?
I'm very much like you. I love branding and marketing. It's a bit of a side sort of passion for me. I find it really interesting, like you say, why people buy things they do, why brands get built. But out of interest, working in the industry, do you ever come up against people that go, okay, well, what do you do? It's hard to explain it, isn't it? Because you can't necessarily put figures to it, and some people just don't get that. Do you find that hard sometimes?
Yeah. What do you mean? Put a figure to brand? You mean?
Yeah, that you can't, when you do branding and when you work in branding, you're not like producing anything physical. It's very much, it's a thought process, isn't it? And it's, lots of it is the background to why the company succeeds. But some
Yeah.
people just don't understand that, and they, well, yeah, but what are you actually doing here?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. It's annoying. That's all I can say. It really is annoying because, I mean, it's because it's not tangible, isn't it?
Yes.
I think it's the tangible thing, especially with the businesses that I work with who are, time poor, cash poor. A lot of the ones I work with anyway, but they're the ones that need the most help, and they're the ones that I personally care about the most because I've been in their shoes many times. Like early stage startups, growing startups who are constantly having to raise money all the time. I think they see, they value, they want to build a brand and they want to become a brand, but they aren't doing what a brand should be doing. And what a brand should be doing is not going pedal to the metal. A brand needs to be going slower and closer to their customers. That's what I personally believe. But it takes a complete mindset shift, I think, for a lot of businesses to really start thinking that in that way. For example, I mean, even just before this call, I was on the phone on another Zoom with a business founder at London Business School, and she was just like, I just really want to get a tagline. I really want to summarize my business up in just a really punchy tagline. And I was just like, okay, cool. And I was like, I'll try and help. I'll, again, just listening, walking through the 5 stories framework and each story one by one, and asking her some questions. And she was just talking, and then I was really listening. And I'm asking more questions, like, oh, can you talk to me a bit more about that? Or what do you mean by that? Or what does that mean for your customers? Things like that, really understanding, unpacking it. But then she was just like, oh, this is the kind of tagline I've got. I'm not sure, like, but and at the end of it, I was just like, why do you feel like you need a tagline? Like, what's this kind of obsession with this tagline? Why do you feel like you need it? She was like, oh, but all of these other companies, all of these competitors, all these big companies that are operating in our space, they have it too. And I was like, yeah, but it's taken them years to get to that tagline, and a lot of work that goes in the back end. And she was definitely very aware of that as well. Like, she was even sort of playing that back to me, and I think that gave her a bit of comfort, knowing that it is a journey, it is a process. But I think that's the thing, like, depending on what stage your business is at or what companies you're working with, I think it always just comes down to they need something right now because the heat is on to raise money, get more customers, grow their business, scale it, all of that kind of stuff. But brand building, becoming a brand and building a brand, it's a practice. Storytelling is a practice. It's not something that's just done and then that's it. It's an ongoing thing that needs time, dedication, and intention and care. It's something that really is a fundamental part of a business. And yeah, I think I think for so long, I don't know if you feel this as well, but I think for so long, branding and marketing has just been talked and spoken about in a way that just feels really hard to understand. It feels clunky. It feels really like clicky as well, if you know what I mean. It doesn't feel like it's something that people can just really grab and be like, oh yeah, I get that. I get how I can break it down. I get how I can apply that to my business, and it can, and I think that just kills creativity as well. It really kills creativity.
No, I think you're right. And for people that listen to this, and your experience was perfect for this question, where does branding fit within, it gets often stuffed into the marketing category, doesn't it? But where does branding really fit within the marketing and advertising world? Does it sit above them? Is that where the marketing should pull all of its thought processes from the branding team? How does it actually work?
I think branding, I don't think it sits above or below or anything. I think it sits in the core. It's definitely at the center. And everything, like the brand, like really breaking it down, like the brand, what is a brand? A brand is the brand is made up of stories, and the stories are the strategy. Like the stories guide everything around the business. It guides like how you hire, who you hire. It guides your product and how you build it and why you build it that way. Because the stories that you hear from your customers, of course, become the learnings and the insight that you need to create a product that they actually want and they need. So I think this is why I don't like saying branding all the time, because I think when people see branding, they think about it in very top line ways, visual, tagline, colors, guide, all of that kind of stuff, which is important, yes, but no, the story is the most important part, and the story is what makes the brand a brand. I think we need to start talking about brand as if it is a living, beating thing, because it really is. The role of a brand is to give, help people get to know themselves better. I think remind them they're all alive.
How do you attempt to convey these sort of stories? So obviously, like you said, branding. You don't see a whole lot of information regarding the brand. It's generally marketing of maybe a product that they're doing. But maybe once you're involved with that product, you sort of get involved with that brand and you sort of go along with it. So how do you sort of transport these stories that the company has to the customer and say, this is how you can relate to this company?
I think it all depends on, stories. So once you've got the stories, so just talking about how we take people on the journey, the first part of that is identifying the stories that connect with their customers' stories as well. So that's like the in-depth sort of strategic research, listen and learn to the customers, understanding how that connects to the stories of the business. Once those stories have been identified, then it's like, okay, well, how do we now tell these stories in the most compelling way? Tone of voice, language, words, pauses in the right places, not the vibe, the energy, the persona of the business itself. It's then nailing that down. Then once that's nailed down, it's like, okay, well, where are people? Where are our people? Like, where are they going to be hanging out, showing up? Like, where's the best place for us to connect with them, to communicate to them? All right, well, for some businesses, it's going to be Instagram, and actually it's going to not just be Instagram in terms of just posting a few squares. It's going to be Instagram lives and Instagram TV and creating series where we're actually inviting people to be a part of our story and like have conversations with us about the shared mission that we have and the shared vision that we have for a better world, a better future. It's going to be, activating these stories in simple things like a newsletter. Like, how can we really bring our story to life in a newsletter series that bring some consistency into the way we communicate and how we communicate our stories. They come to life in things like sales scripts, like when you're picking up the phone, when businesses are picking up the phone to speak to people for the first time. They guide how we communicate to people for the first time, with empathy, with intention, with care, with the compassion for where that understanding of where our customers are at right at the beginning and how they're feeling and how that comes into the way we first communicate with them. That's how the stories really get applied. They get applied to every single part of the business. But you can only really apply them, and they're only going to work when you've done the work before that to really identify them, understand the customer, their story, use that insight to identify your stories and where they connect with your customers, and then really understanding, hey, what's the best way to communicate these stories in terms of tone, language, and then putting them out into the world in different creative ways, shapes and forms.
Okay. And for you, what would be two critical personality traits that you think are really important as a someone working in branding?
have a love, be affectionate for people, have affection for people. I think, I don't know if that's a personality trait, but
Yeah.
Have affection for people, because creating a brand is all about understanding people and understanding what people need and want, and more than anything, people just want to be seen, heard, and understood better. So the person who is in the branding role, or wants to take up a role in the branding world of brand, needs to really have a clear understand, not just have affection for people, and want to listen to them, understand them as much as possible, because all of that insight goes into building brands. It doesn't matter what brand it is or what business it is. That insight and that love and that is so transferable across any single business and every single project.
And what would you say has been the biggest positive since you've taken this world of storytelling and worked in this world of storytelling?
Biggest positive?
Yeah, sort of, whether it's something you've done or something you enjoy doing. What's the biggest positive for you working in storytelling?
Oh, do you know what? Honestly, storytelling is just my life. I do a lot of storytelling on LinkedIn. That's where I've been really showing up and telling my personal stories on there a lot. And what the biggest positive and big for me, success is when you share a story, and because and it's a really raw, real, vulnerable story, and it invites people to share theirs as well. So the biggest positive has been seeing stories that I've been actually quite scared to share, because they're very personal to me. I shared one today actually about my relationship with building a business for the full time and all the worries that happen behind doing that. Relationship with my partner, money worries, having to do this again and wanting to getting married this year, all of that stuff that no one really talks about when they're an entrepreneur. And the amount of people that commented on that post and said, me too, I feel that too, I'm experiencing that too. The amount of messages I've had today of people saying, thank you for sharing your story. I needed to know that I wasn't the only one going through this. I'm actually going through a really tough time with my husband right now. Things like really deep stuff like that, all because I had the courage to be like, you know what? I'm just going to show myself. I'm just going to show up. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to share my stories, because that's who I am, and that's me. And the biggest positive is when we all learn, and I believe when we all learn how to identify and tell our stories better, I think the whole world will be a more connected place. We'll all be better because of it. So that's what I'm on a mission to do with 5 Stories.
And on the flip side of that, what would maybe be some of the negative aspects of this industry?
The negative aspects of you mean like branding and marketing?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, that's probably the best option.
Yeah, I think the negative is putting the wrong businesses out into the world, and I think that's the most annoying thing, is that there's so many businesses out there that are getting seen and heard for all the wrong reasons, and they have enough money to pump into Facebook and billboards, and they have the money to advertise, and actually they're not the businesses that deserve to be seen and heard. So I guess on the negative side, it's the wrong stories.
That's fair enough. And would you still go into this industry knowing everything you know now?
Yeah, 100%, because I think there's a lot of work to do in this industry. I think it's changing a lot. I think now more than ever, what I'm seeing is so many more freelance storytellers, creators starting up on their own and taking control of it. And I absolutely, just really like bringing this, just making it all so real. Like, I think the way that I'm so excited about where the industry is going. I'm so excited about how creative everybody like the creative expression, like that it's endless, like how much creativity is out there now. I'm really starting to see more and more stories being told, more and more freelance, the freelance community growing, more people feeling more confident with going off on their own and not going and getting sucked into that agency world where they're, you know, working for someone else's dream and getting paid peanuts for, you know, not getting paid the right amount of money because of the margins. They have to be so high in the agency world, so that doesn't, you know, no one really wins there apart from the agency, and even they don't really that much because the margins are still really tight for them. Having run two myself, it is tough, but I think it's a really exciting time, and I think the whole industry is changing and has to change as well. It needs to change.
I think you bring up such a good point, actually, because we've had quite a few, you know, marketing freelancers and branding and whatnot, and they've all come on the podcast and they've said exactly the same as you. Actually, it's a really interesting time to be in the industry because it is changing. You can now just set yourself up on LinkedIn, start posting, start building a personal brand, and then you can create your own, you know, mini agency, and you can outsource certain aspects that you don't do as well or you don't know about to other freelancers, and you build this little network and this agency, and it's a really, really cool time to get into it, isn't it?
I agree. I could not agree more. I think you just touched on a really important thing there. Personal branding, like your personal brand. You know, I think people are just getting more, like people want to show themselves more. People want to take ownership of their career, of their life, of their talent. And damn right, they should. And I'm all for it. And I think it's incredible to see. I work with lots of different freelancers who are globally as well. You know, this is an incredible time where you can run these micro agencies and create these communities of creative storytellers who all share, who all like encourage each other, who all celebrate each other, who all care about similar things and believe similar things, and they're really connected in their love for creative storytelling and working with businesses to help the right ones get seen and heard out there. I think it is a really incredible time to be a part of the industry, and I think it's going in the direction that it should have been going in a long time ago, but I think the time is right for it now.
I think people, it's also a pretty good time to make this point. I think people, you know, when they go into being entrepreneurs or go into freelancing, they're like, right, you know, I want to create this company, I want to make millions of pounds. You don't, it's going to sound really silly, but like, if you could bring in an income that was like, I don't know, just say a figure like, you know, over £100,000, or, you know, you built like a micro agency, is that if we're going to call it that, you know, you would be working for yourself. You decide your own hours, you know, it's going to be stressful, but it's on your terms. I think that's a really exciting thing, isn't it?
It is. It's such an exciting thing. And yeah, it is going to be stressful. Of course it is. But creating your own world, creating your own business is never going to be easy. It's always going to be tough. But I think what's incredible is that there's so many, you're not alone. There's a lot of people doing it. So there's a lot of shared experience out there around going off on your own and, you know, like, oh my God, I'm actually going to do this. You know, the love that I'm seeing on LinkedIn for freelancers and creatives and brand builders and strategists and content creating specialists, you know, however they name themselves, is huge. It's huge, and everybody's looking out for each other. Honestly, like especially in the circles that I'm in at the moment, which I'm so grateful for. Everyone's looking out for each other. I feel, you know, I'm not gonna lie, like I've had a few tears this week just from just of happened, like people are so nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you two are finding this, but at the moment on LinkedIn, like that is where the most, like the friendliest, most caring community I think is. Like,
I think it's a common soul kind of ground, isn't it? You know, everyone's there. Most people that are there and very active are the ones that are trying to build businesses or, you know, freelance or whatever. And we've connected with some incredible people. I don't know if you agree, Tom, but, you know, some really, really incredible people through LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think the other thing is you can't hide behind LinkedIn. Like you're
Yeah,
not
true.
anonymous, you are a person.
Yeah.
So people obviously will ruin their reputation if they
Do so as
do
well.
do
Yeah,
anything
yeah, very
different.
true.
You know, they are trying to build themselves. They're trying to create their own story, aren't they? And they don't want that to be tarnished. So I think everyone, yeah,
It's in their interest, to be honest,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know if you two see this as well, but I'm really seeing this this more of an appetite, a hunger for just showing up and being yourself. There's
Yeah.
more and more of that that's happening now, which I think is really incredible to see. Just more and more people really speaking up and showing themselves more, which I think is so wonderful.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Amanda. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Amanda. Where can people find you and the stories you're telling?
So LinkedIn, Amanda Baker. So you can hit me up on there and follow all of my stories there. And also Instagram. I don't post that much on Instagram at the moment. I mainly post on LinkedIn, but on Instagram, you find me at Amanda Tells 5 Stories and Tell 5 Stories, which is the company that I'm building.
Amazing. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much, guys. Great to meet you.
And you.